Looking back on my JRPG time in August, I'd say it was a month full of surprises. I was surprised to love the game I was continuing in it as much as I did, then was surprised not to have the next one I played be what I had hoped for, and was particularly surprised to have ended up entering the next gen with a new console, which meant trying some experiences new and old in their best looking form, including an upcoming release that I know myself and many of you guys are anticipating playing. There's that and a few more things to cover in this video. So after another fun month of playing a variety of games, here are the JRPGs I played in August. In the half hour I played of Neo The World Ends With You in July, it grabbed my attention with its exciting and sharp-looking opening, but even with that, I didn't expect to love it as much as I did, with there being multiple points where I played it late into the night, wanting to see what would happen next, showing me that the narrative really got me. The modern world of time traveling and pin slamming just kept pulling me in with its antics, with running back through time trying to make things better for Rindo and crew having me invested in wanting to see things go right, and that feeling was only made stronger by how much I liked their personalities, and with many fun mechanics to play with in between, such as the level changing, going to restaurants, and collecting and leveling up pins along the way, it all made for a one-of-a-kind experience, made even better by my recent experience with the anime that had me so happy to see everyone again. It was a colorful journey that I loved so many things about, from its colorful script to its soundtrack that I'm now listening to pretty much every day thanks to the fact that it's on streaming services, so if you're interested in hearing more about the game, feel free to check out my review to hear about it in more detail, and if you're someone who hasn't tried this series, I highly recommend it in any of its forms, as this well-written and stylish world is one I'm glad could be around to make its mark on another interesting year of games. The next game I was planning to play and cover in August was Baldo the Guardian Owls, a game by an Italian studio with clear inspiration coming from Studio Ghibli in its animation style and Zelda in some of its gameplay and themes, and with the promise of action RPG elements in between, I was initially excited to talk about it in detail, and while I'm happy I can at least talk about it a little here to fill you guys in on my impressions of it, I won't be putting the time into making a dedicated video on it, as well, it just didn't end up being for me. I played about 3 hours of getting destroyed in its first dungeon that I eventually beat and had a look at its side quests to see if they would appeal more, which they really didn't. And while I think the difficulty aspect of it will certainly be hit or miss for some, as I couldn't even tell you how many times I died, the two reasons I think I couldn't get into it were its pacing and the combat that I really couldn't get into. The story starts off very suddenly, with Baldo being declared the chosen, pure-hearted child to be allowed to open the doors of special places and expected to one day take down a big threat, which sees him conveniently head down to the dungeon his grandfather found and happens to have the perfect thing to open, and his grandpa just allows this unarmed child to go in and find some treasure. And when I say unarmed, I really mean it, as my first 2 hours of Baldo was spent trying not to be killed by the world that was so ready to kill me, and while I liked its puzzly elements in between, I felt like 2 hours was too long to go without a weapon, and some of the puzzles I even had to look up the solution to online. And then when the game finally did give me a sword, I really didn't enjoy its boss battles or combat much more, unfortunately. The combat on the field is just basically slashing down an enemy in a single well-timed slash, and the boss battle mostly continued the tradition of really trying to kill me, especially for a first boss battle. It really made me miss common RPG elements like skills where my character could get a leg up in battle, and while I'm sure some people will enjoy the extreme challenge, I think ultimately, even without the difficulty, it didn't have enough RPG style elements for me to really get into it, as with no equipment to change and nothing to level up early on, I found myself fearful of the prospect of going through the same thing in the next dungeons, especially since I heard this game ran around 50 hours and decided to put it down and just wait for the next thing I wanted to play. Naturally, making a game is a huge feat that I can't even begin to comprehend how a small team of 2 creators did, so I do want to stress that it gives me no joy to talk negatively about this game. But it's also important for me to let any of you know who trust my judgment and my thoughts in the hope that it'll help you guys decide whether you want to play this or something that you're more sure that you'll enjoy. I'm sure there is an audience out there for Baldo who would get more satisfaction out of its Zelda-like puzzle elements and constantly having a challenge to overcome. It's just that those challenges were a little too frequent for me, and I also think it's important to play things you like, even if it means putting down something when you realize that you don't. I'd be very curious to hear other people's thoughts on Baldo, so feel free to let me know in the comments, and I do hope others who tried it got more out of it than I did, and I wish the team all the best in the next game they create. After I realized Baldo wasn't for me, I also quickly realized I now had a bunch of free playtime to potentially give to another game. And while at first I considered finishing some of the smartphone game stories I have just sitting waiting for me on my phone, I had also just rekindled my interest in Fuga after editing my first impressions of it. So with that, I decided to jump fully into it and to continue the rest of its moving story of cute animal kids and a deadly soul cannon. In August though, despite the fact I've actually finished Fuga now, since my decision to get back into it was on the last day of the month, I only played half an hour of it in August, but that half hour was important, as after Baldo, it made me realize that Fuga was much more my pace. I discovered its farming mechanics, started to work out the party members I wanted to focus on raising link attacks with, and even saw some of the stuff you guys mentioned in the comments of my first impressions video, like the branching difficulty paths where you can choose to take the normal, safe, or dangerous route, which made combat in my time with Fuga very interesting, as I like how it encourages you to think in the long term, and if it's better to do a hard battle now and get more loot to do upgrades, or if the tank can't quite take it at the moment. As I said, I finished it recently, and I'm very grateful to CyberConnect 2 for giving me a PS4 copy that allowed me to play through it in this unexpected free time, and I've also drafted my review for it that I'll surely work on after making this video. For now though, I'm glad this was an experience that I happened to get a little more time with, and I hope more people check out this interesting tank-based JRPG. Another game closer to this month's plans is Tales of Arise, a demo I had originally planned not to play as I've been trying to go dark on games I know I want to play recently. But I happened to see that playing the demo netted you a free out in the full game, and that's all it took to convince me, so I ended up playing it, and since it was one of my first proper next-gen experiences on my PS5, I was really pleased to see how gorgeous it looked from the second you land on its map, and while I certainly have a lot to learn in terms of combat, as I felt like I wasn't quite using the system properly, I'm sure that will come in the full game's tutorials very soon, and I already know I want to play it. In fact, I picked up a physical copy of it while making this video. I completed the demo and enjoyed seeing the little touches in its world, like its cooking mechanics and the fun little skits you can watch along the way that confirm there's plenty of humor to find in this game too, so the demo did its job of confirming that the full game is worth looking forward to, and I can't wait to try more of it very soon, likely right after making this video. I'm sure many of you guys are playing it too, so feel free to let me know how you're enjoying it in the comments. Since I've currently been spending my Japanese study time on a certain smartphone rhythm game involving girls bands and parties, in August I didn't put much time into JRPG anime aside from some brief time finishing The World Ends With You one and listening to its audio for study, along with the Atelier, Escha, and Logy anime that I probably watched once while eating dinner. But this anime time feels quite far away, as I unexpectedly got a new toy in August that I was very excited to play with, and playing around with that took up pretty much the rest of my JRPG time. The thing I'm talking about is my PS5 that I was lucky enough to get after religiously entering raffles here in Japan since April to be given the chance to purchase one, and towards the beginning of August I found out I had finally won one of these things, so if you're in Japan or in a country with a similar system, don't give up, as the raffle gods may eventually bless you too. My PS5 arrived when I was still in the middle of playing Neo: The World Ends With You, and while I did switch my playtime for that to be on my PS5, it also meant I didn't have time yet to play anything that could take full advantage of its capabilities, although I was able to enjoy certain things like slightly faster load times in Neo and what I perceived as slightly smoother battles, although I'm also willing to believe that some of it was just the shiny new toy effect. After I finished Neo and wrote my review for it, I found my new toy excitement taking over much more regularly, and found myself trying all the JRPGs I remembered had versions and optimizations on the system almost every night. I tried Scarlet Nexus, which after finally getting my cloud save to work looks absolutely gorgeous, as does Final Fantasy VII Remake and Yakuza Like a Dragon, with the latter and Atelier Ryza 2 in the 60 frame per second forms being games I almost wish I could replay in their optimized forms, as I love them so much and I'm astounded that they could be even better. Seeing these games made me feel very happy about my purchasing decision, along with the fact that I'm free from the many problems I've been having with my launch day PS4, like how it sometimes like to randomly turn itself on at 4 AM. Since this is my first PlayStation upgrade since the PS4's launch, it's also cool to be basically getting the benefits of having a PS4 Pro thanks to the better hardware, so I'm looking forward to seeing how games new and old run on it, but particularly new ones, as there are some pretty gorgeous things coming. Hopefully more stock becomes available soon, as I have no doubt some of you guys are waiting to pick up the system too, but with how everything happened for me, I feel very lucky to have one, and if you have one or any of the other newer consoles, I'd love to hear about your experiences or tips, so feel free to let me know about it in the comments. While I've already touched on most of my September JRPG plans at different points in this video, September so far is a month full of things I like, and I'll be very happy if I get to play all these things as they seem so fun and different. Since I just finished Fuga, I'm gearing up to play Tales of Arise that I'll likely be a little into by the time I'm done with this video. And with it not only being a gorgeous looking game, but also the first Tales game I plan to finish since I only got halfway into Exilia, I'm excited to jump into a series I've always been interested in, and with it being my first PS5 game I'm going to be playing in full too, I couldn't be more excited to check out this big JRPG release. After that, and one thing I haven't mentioned yet, I'm also hoping to try out Mary Skelter Finale that is due out September 30th, which should be pretty exciting as it's been a little while since I've played anything from Compile Heart. I haven't played the previous Mary Skelter games, but the part I like about Finale is that it includes their events that will allow me to be able to catch up and hopefully enjoy it, and with its art style by Kei Nanameda, who also did the art for Death End Request, being incredibly appealing, along with a collection of interesting dark themes, it's another series I've been interested in that I hope to dive properly into for a first time too. With multiple things to play, September is already jam-packed with a lot of fun things, and I'm incredibly excited to get into all of them as the month rapidly progresses. Whether you're going with Tales of Arise, Mary Skelter, or any of the other interesting things coming out this month, like the new Genshin update or Ni no Kuni 2's Switch release, I hope you guys enjoy what you end up playing in another fun and beautiful month of playing interesting JRPGs. Thank you for watching this video. Let me know in the comments below what you played in August and what you plan to play this month. You can like and share this video if you enjoyed it, subscribe to my channel for more JRPG content like this, and ring that bell to get notifications on whenever I post so you don't miss a thing. You can check out more videos here, and you can find me on social media on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram, all at JRPG Jungle. Links to those will be in the description below, and until next time, thank you, bye!